So happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to our monthly Goleta Wrap meeting where we discuss the impact of homelessness throughout the city of Goleta. My name is Landon. I am the Director of Programs at SB Act, and this is a partnership with the city of Goleta as a part of our broader efforts throughout all of South County to address homelessness. So we're also joined by Mayor Paula Perotti. Thanks for being here, as well as Chuck Flax, who's the city of Goleta's homeless services coordinator. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just share a couple introductory slides as we get started. This is old hat for most of you, but just a reminder that we tend to use people first language on these calls. We try to refer to people as people experiencing homelessness, mainly because we're hoping that it's not a permanent identity for anyone. We're hoping that at some point the individual is able to move out and into housing. So we don't want to solely identify them as that. And so that's why we use people first language, because that's what they are. There is a question sometimes about homeless versus houseless. The reality is that in every point in time count that we've done in the last 15 years, the majority of people experiencing homelessness in Goleta and in Santa Barbara County were actually from Santa Barbara County before they lost housing. So the majority of them, this is their home, but they are currently without a house. Regardless, we are going to use the word homeless just for the sake of ease, but I think it's important to point it out because language does matter. And then the last thing I'm going to kind of group these together is just to note that there's not one monolith homeless experience. We try to talk about all the different kinds of homelessness on these calls, including people living in their vehicles, families, veterans, people who are seniors, people who are younger. So we just want to note it's not all one story. It's not all mental health, not all substance use. Those are definitely tied in with homelessness in many ways, but it's definitely a more complicated picture. So I'm just naming all that at the outset, but we're really glad you're here for this conversation. What we'll talk about today is really what's going on in Goleta right now to address homelessness, and then we'll open it up for community members to bring up their concerns and questions. So I wanted to note a couple of things coming up. I might have Chuck or Mayor Perotti talk a little bit more about this homelessness standing issues committee meeting that's coming up next week. That's at the city. But then I also just wanted to note this meeting will convene again 1 month from now. So it's the fourth Monday of every month at noon. So please know you can always jump on there. Or you can contact Chuck or myself if you have any concerns related to homelessness between now and then. So with that having been said, I want to turn it over to Chuck to talk a little bit about what's going on in the city.
Hey, everybody. So I have a couple of things to talk about. The first, I can respond to Landon's point about the Homelessness Issues Standing Committee. If you're not familiar, it's an occasional meeting that we try to have 4 times a year. Mayor Perotti chairs the committee and Councilman Caston is the other member. And the upcoming meeting is important because we are getting into gear to update our homelessness strategic plan, and with new priorities and new focuses and tighter objectives. And I have a draft of the work plan for that we're going to run by the committee. We'll update them on some of the newer efforts around enforcement of people living in vehicles. And just tightening up some of our ordinances, as well as the usual reporting on how things are going. And in that vein, I might as well show you the data for December. At every one of these meetings, I like to catch us up on the data. So let's see here. Can people see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So these charts, for those of you who've attended these meetings, these charts should be pretty familiar. There's some encouraging trends. We are seeing fewer and fewer homeless people over the months. The last quarter ended, down about almost 20 people, and that is the result of primarily people moving from encampments into other places, either into shelter, into permanent housing. And in some cases, people have moved out of the region And so I think that's where we've been seeing a lot of the success. And that makes sense given that the city's really been focused on people who are living outside and living in encampments. Just to get an overall sense of how things went for the last year, um, statistically, we're staying pretty consistent. But if you look, we are dropping down, from a high of 182 down to a low of 103. So, that's a positive trend, and hopefully we'll see it continue, especially in the area of people living in vehicles. So this number is interesting, because I want to make sure that we're counting it right. It's some of the data that I'm using may be sort of old, given how consistent the numbers are. If you look, these are the totals over here, and it looks like that on any given night we have about 200 to 220 or so people living in vehicles on the street. There is some fluctuation, and so I'm going to be meeting with New Beginnings next week to talk about making sure that these data are pretty up to date and accurate. You can see that Western Goleta has a lot more folks than Eastern Goleta, and the overall trend. It's hard to say. It seems I would say, is pretty consistent. One of the issues here that I remind everybody about is if we're talking about 220 people, only 43 or so have identified themselves as homeless and have sought out help or have agreed to help from our outreach folks. So that's a big difference. And so, one of our things that we really want to know is how can we help the people that are living in their vehicles but don't necessarily want to work with our homeless services. And that's going to be a big component, I think, of our strategic plan moving forward. In terms of new people versus people being housed, I call this our flow of homeless people. This trend is also positive, although it bounces around a lot, but you can see that we consistently are housing people every month. Unfortunately, we're also seeing an inflow. So this last month, we actually went above the curve and we had 3 people housed and only 2 new people. That's always encouraging. But in general, the situation is that we tend to have almost a 2-to-1 ratio of new people coming into homelessness versus people that we're housing. But I don't want to take away from this number. The fact that we've housed 63 people over the last year is fantastic work, and it's really the work of many of the people on this call. We can't really control the number of people coming out of homelessness, and that too is something we're going to be talking about in our strategic planning work. In terms of the 103 people that we have currently, we have a disproportionate number compared to the county of senior homeless folks. So 45% of people who are homeless are over 55 in Goleta. We also we tend to have just a handful of folks who are transition-aged youth. And then in terms of veterans, right now we're not aware of any veterans in the city of Goleta who are currently homeless. But I always have to say, to caveat that the highest we have seen since I've been here is 4 people. So it's great. We don't have any more veteran homelessness in Goleta. In terms of chronically homeless, we have a very high percentage of chronically homeless people in Goleta versus the state and the county. And I can't say definitively why that is, but I do know that there are quite a few people in Goleta who have found places to be in Goleta and have maintained their homelessness and, over 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So that's why we see the number. I can't speculate exactly as to why that's the case, because we're certainly trying to help these folks get out of their homeless situation. And I've talked about this in the past, and it's the change is not a huge change, but we are seeing more and more people with income. I mean, 42% is less than half of our population having no income. And the range is from, over $2,000, almost 20% of the people have over $2,000 a month in income. And, that bodes well in terms of trying to find housing, particularly shared housing. If someone's willing to live with other people in a house, $2,000 a month might be close to enough. And then in terms of sources of income, the largest number of people are on some kind of disability program, but 42% of people are earning their income through employment. So again, very encouraging news to try to boost people's income, try to get them into permanent housing. So those are the numbers. Are there any questions on that? Okay, whenever I'm with you, London, I can't figure out how to stop sharing.
I can get you.
Okay. I do have another thing that I want to talk about, but I think I'll wait till later in the meeting after we've heard from folks. And it's about sort of the future of this meeting and how we can encourage more people to attend. Mayor Prodi.
Thank you. Thank you, Chuck. I'm wondering about, I don't know if this is the right time to ask this question or not. When we are reviewing our strategic plan update, will we be doing what we did in the past for the first strategic plan? We had, I don't know how many, but we've had workshops, and what I was most impressed about on those workshops were actually having folks that were experiencing homelessness there
Yeah.
and expressing their concerns.
Yeah.
We try and reach out, and now that we have folks, the encampments, yes, but also the vehicles, living in their vehicles, how can we reach out to them to really find out? I mean, I know the boots on the ground. I call all you folks that work out there in the field heroes and doing a great job. But how do we get them all together to experience or share their rationale for not wanting services?
And we can go into a lot more detail at the Homeless Issues Standing Committee.
Right.
But the very good news is that one of the things that
Hi, Edward. Yes. I believe
maybe we can mute Desiree. Yeah, there we go. One of the things we've really grown in, and since the first strategic plan was written, is that we have made consulting with and working with people who are currently and formerly experiencing homelessness a priority in terms of how we design our programs and policies. And this is a national movement to really do that. And Landon, who's here on the call, has been one of the leaders in Santa Barbara County at convening people experiencing homelessness to focus on our policy work. So we're really going to have a robust participation from people experiencing homelessness in our planning process. Landon and I, in fact, talked about that last week. So we're definitely gearing up for that. So thank you for that question.
Thank you. Thank you.
In terms of what's going on in Goleta in terms of homelessness, our folks on the call can report in more detail. But I've observed what to me feels like a real reduction in people being on the street experiencing homelessness, in kind of invisible areas. I really credit the outreach folks for really working with the people and helping them get services that they need so that they don't necessarily have to fly signs or be as present in our community. That being said, we always have a handful of folks that we continue to work with that we hope someday will agree to come inside, and they tend to be kind of our regulars, and we know who they are. The last thing I'll say before we turn it over to our different providers is that we lost a member of our community. I actually heard directly from law enforcement. This was a gentleman that I knew when I was working at PATH. He's been homeless for many years and has been benefiting from some of the support of our community, and was actually living with a member of our community, but ended up getting in trouble and going to jail, and he unfortunately died in custody. That was in Newshawk today. And I just, I want to recognize him. He's somebody that I knew and cared about, and we're sorry to have lost him.
Any other
Go ahead,
questions
London.
for? Well, yeah, I was just going to ask any other questions for Chuck about the data. If not, Chuck, you mentioned wanting to talk about getting more people to this group specifically.
Yeah. Can we bring that back after we've done some reporting, and I'll bring it
Sure.
up later in the meeting.
Can I ask you though, Chuck, would you be willing to share just about some of the forthcoming housing projects for people that may not be familiar? Like,
Yeah. So
yeah.
yeah. So close by to us, Patterson Point is uh, a healthcare focused housing project. People who have serious either behavioral or alcohol and drug problems, other kinds of health issues. There's going to be, I believe it's 24 units that are opening next month. The project is on Patterson and Kyriel. It's just outside the city of Goleta borders, on the east side or south side of Patterson. Um, and we know that many of the folks that we've been working with are getting referrals there, and we'll be meeting with the housing authority for placement. Um, the Heritage Ridge project has officially broken ground. And there was a housing authority event that honored that starting point. My guess is that it will open sometime in 2027, we hope. And that's 100 units of both family housing and housing for individuals, again, funded by healthcare funding. So people will be pretty vulnerable folks that will need a lot of support, but the plan is to have a lot of supportive services in place. And that project's right by City Hall. If off the Los Caneros exit, you can see it pretty clearly from the freeway. So those are the exciting kind of housing projects going forward here in Goleta. There are other things in the works that also will be permanent housing. So stay tuned.
Thank you. I think it's really important to note that just because the numbers you showed, it's averaging between 100 and 200 people consistently in the city of Goleta. And while all of these units Chuck mentioned may not be populated exclusively by people from Goleta, I do think we're going to see a significant dent in the city in the coming 2 years. So with that, let's go ahead and go around to everyone else for check-ins. So we have a number of different homeless outreach teams within the city of Goleta. A couple of them are working specifically with people in vehicles, and then others are working with people who are unsheltered, like living on the streets, in tents, by the creeks, etc. So we'll start with the team that's working with people in vehicles, so New Beginnings, and we'll go to Cora. If she's able to,
come
she
back
may
to
be
her.
pulled away. All right, we'll come back to Cora. So why don't we start with CityNet, which is one of the outreach teams that works with people who are unsheltered.
Hi, this is Ellen. I was out sick for quite a while, but I'm back. We've been doing regular outreach to like San Jose Creek. I think as Surf 2 winds down, we're going to be going back out into the creeks more than we have been. So San Jose Creek, we were doing Fest Parker, the regular Elwood, Jubilee Church tracks, just the regular drive around to people flying a sign. It's been pretty consistent, not a ton of new people. Just looking at my little list here. Winter is always rough. The shelters are pretty impacted. The transition to Mercy House obviously has made things a little bit more difficult in terms of shelter placements. I think I only have one person who's up for Patterson, but just continually checking in and hoping for progress with that. And Connor, I need to touch base with you offline about a couple folks after this call that we're going to be doing APS reports on. So,
yeah, just give me a call. I'll be available.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ellen. Glad you're feeling better. We're going to go to the Good Samaritan Surf 2 team. They are focused on people who are living unsheltered near the creeks and waterways.
Hello, this is Destiny from Surf 2. For the last 2 weeks, the team's focus was on transporting clients to their housing authority appointments, along with making sure their documents are up to date for housing outcomes. Creeks canvassed were all of Glen Annie Creek, Arkwell Creek, and San Jose Creek. Fulcrum has been updated with detailed photos. Thank you.
Thank you, Destiny. And then let's hear from the Good Samaritan ARPA team, which is focused on people who are unsheltered more generally in the city of Goleta. Do we have someone from the ARPA team here with us today? All right. we can circle back with them. All right, Cora. Cora is back. So let's go to the team from New Beginnings that's working with people in their vehicles.
Hello, I'm sorry about that. Anyway, my video isn't going on. I'm having technical difficulties.
Exactly.
Perhaps you can tell. Anyway, but
You're all
we're not
good.
having difficulties in every other area. Our agency is still up and running. We're still doing a bunch of outreach with Goleta and Santa Barbara. Our surf team is also out there busy doing outreach, hitting all the hot spots as usual, and that's honestly about all the update I have at this moment. And we are looking forward to the other meeting that we're going to be discussing in more detail, as Chuck had mentioned. That's something that we're looking forward to discussing and working at and toward.
And Cora, since we have some new faces, can you just name some of those hot spots that the New Beginnings team tends to reach out to?
Sure. I'm still trying to, I don't know what's happening here. With my video. Anyway, yes, some of the hot spots that we currently are targeting are, it's not as hot as it used to be, but the Phelps area and that all around the area out there by the gym, the Pacific Oaks area is one. We're also targeting the area by behind the Target there. We are also targeting we're still going over by Ward Memorial. And then there's also other areas that aren't necessarily quote unquote hotspots that we do go to. Just because once we really started targeting all of those hotspots, people have either been housed or they've dissipated. So they've jumped to another area. And so while we continue to target the quote unquote hotspots, we're also expanding our search to places like out there by the Butterfly Grove in that general vicinity, which we've often done. Also, there is over by the which I don't think it might fall within the Goleta, but around the Magnolia Shopping Center and also around the I'm sorry, where the pets go, not Petco, but where the Humane Society. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry, by the Humane Society. So we also target over there. And then there are parts in Goleta that we hit closer to Old Town Goleta in those neighborhoods. And then, of course, Isla Vista, which isn't really considered Goleta.
Thanks, Cora. All right. And then in addition to our outreach teams, we also have some teams that are working more on the interim housing or shelter end. So we have Adriana here with us from Hedges House of Hope in Isla Vista. So Adriana, do you have any updates you want to share?
Hi, this is Adriana at Hedges. We are currently full, but I'm actually very happy that Mary has been working with a client in the luncheons that she does, and we were very happy that we could actually get her in this weekend. So that's huge for us. But yes, so I currently am full at this time, and we anticipate some movement once Patterson Point opens up and we can start housing people. So that's all from Hedges.
That's great. And then on the permanent housing end, we have with us Hilda from Buena Tierra.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. So an update on our end, we're almost fully full here, which is exciting. It's a long time coming. We just have 3 chronically homeless beds available. So it's exciting. It's exciting to see people coming off the streets. We had a gentleman, I'll share a win real quick. We had a gentleman that's been living on the streets for the past 15 years, and he was able to come here, and he finally has a place to sleep, and he's showered about 3-4 times in the past 2 days. So, he came down and he said, I'm really grateful to be here. I needed a shower, and that right there is why we do the work that we do. So thank you.
That's awesome. Thanks, Hilda. Also on the permanent housing side, we have partners in housing solutions, and they work with people to try and connect them with private landlords in town who would be willing to rent to them. So I think we might have 1 or 2 team members if either of you wants to share.
Good morning. This is Gina with Partners in Housing Solutions. So yeah, we take people who they're referred to us from City of Goleta, Check Flags, or other providers who are having a hard time. These people do have somewhat of a steady income, whether it's through state benefits or federal benefits, or they're actually working. And so we are consistently housing people, it seems like, for the past couple of weeks. So I just had one that I housed the fastest is in probably about a month and a half. And so he's now in permanent housing. And then my coworker just housed a family that was in a vehicle. Our North County seems to be a little more successful because it is a little bit cheaper up there. But yeah, we're rolling.
That's great, Gina. And then we also work closely with law enforcement. They work closely with our homeless outreach teams. So we'll go to Deputy Warden with the Sheriff's Department.
I'm Deputy Warden, the Community Resource Deputy for the City of Goleta. I have no particular updates in regard to law enforcement and homelessness, but if anybody has any questions, I'm available.
Thank you. And then we also have Officer Gaston with the UC Police Department. Oh, we can't hear you for some reason. It does look like you're unmuted, but for some reason there's no audio.
That one right there is called a technical difficulty. My microphone. Sorry about that. Anyway, this is my grand entrance. My name is Gary Gaston with the UCPD. I too have no updates. If there's any questions that I can answer as well, happy to do so.
Thank you. And then last but not least, we'll go to Mary, who runs the meal program in Isla Vista every week.
Hi there. We've been, I got sun on my head. We've been averaging between 40 and 50 every week, and we hand out a hot meal. We try to make it a bit of a feast for them, knowing that it might be the only hot meal they get all week. And then we hand out to-go food that they can take for the next couple of days, and clothing, and make them a cup of hot coffee. And the fun thing is that we're getting just a lot of young people, college age young people that are wanting to volunteer with us. So I really love that because, it helps them to see what's going on and ways that they can have compassion and work with these folks. So yeah, everything's going well. And I was so thankful to Adriana for getting this lady into housing who's been living in the park in a very dangerous situation. So thank you, Adriana. And, we have a heart, especially for people that are in dangerous situations. So that was great.
Oh, thank you, Mary. Appreciate that. All right. So at this time, we'll open it up for community members. If you have any questions or concerns related to homelessness, now's a good chance to share.
Sarah, I wonder if you want to introduce yourself.
I just kind of came here to listen. But hi, my name is Sarah Francis, and I work with School on Wheels. And we work primarily with families and school-aged children experiencing homelessness. And so we're a nonprofit that provides one-on-one tutoring to help them catch up to their grade level and also continue with their schooling. And then we also provide any backpacks, school supplies they may need throughout their entire time during while they're experiencing homelessness, and scholarships as well. So if a kid wants to learn a music instrument or play a sport, but they have a financial gap that they cannot reach, we'll provide that scholarship so they're able to participate. But I've been just trying to connect more with the Santa Barbara area, so I thought I would just sit in and learn about all the different organizations and people that are just helping our just friends and neighbors experiencing homelessness.
That's great. Well, welcome to the area. Hopefully we can connect you with everybody you need to. I'm hoping you all are already connected maybe with the YMCA because they're working really, okay. That's our primary provider for youth.
Yeah, I was talking with Chuck just a week or two ago, and he started to connect me with them. So thank you so much.
That's awesome.
I would like to ask Mary a question. Um, what kinds of needs do you have for donations of clothing, blankets, sleeping bags, etc., and shoes?
We I don't know. It's just so fun how the Lord provides because it just seems like people drop off clothing at our doorstep all the time. And we allow people coming to our luncheon to take 3 items each. And but we also, if anyone's actually living outside on the ground or outside somewhere, we have ordered a whole bunch of sleeping bags. So we have about 15 sleeping bags left that we make sure everybody has a sleeping bag. So we've got plenty of those right now. Any to go food items, it's always wonderful when people donate canned goods or fruit or drinks or snack items. We let them take 1 protein item, 1 fruit item, 1 drink item, and 4 snack items. So that does get a little bit expensive sometimes, but again, we've always been well provided for, and we thank the Lord for that. And the guests regularly take those. I mean, I think they really do eat those things, the next day. Um, our outreach is on Tuesdays, I mean, and I think there are other outreaches, other churches. I think the Isla Vista Church provides them a meal on Friday or Saturday. I think that may have changed a little bit up, but yeah, and most of the people who come to our luncheons are either have some mental illness issue or addiction issue. I'd say 75% of those are in that category. So, but a lot of what we do is just form relationships with them, and we befriend them and take them to doctor's appointments and just things like that. And pray for them when they ask. Yeah.
I have some blankets. Are there blankets needed, or what would be an appropriate place to donate blankets?
Yeah, no, you can, Judy, if you want, I can pick them up at your house, or you can bring them to my house. I'm at 261 Santa Barbara Shores Drive out in Goleta. And you're welcome to leave them here with us, or we serve at the Isla Vista Community Center, which is that blue building that used to be the Orthodox Church at the end of Embarcadero Del Mar, and you're welcome to bring them over there between 11 and 12:30 on a Tuesday if you don't want to come all the way out to our house in Goleta.
Okay, so you're 251 Santa Barbara Shores house.
261.
261. Oh.
Santa Barbara Shores Drive. Yeah. Y'all come and visit us.
So, and you serve at the community center then rather than where you used to serve outside?
Yeah, we've been blessed for the last 2 years or so, year and a half, to be allowed to use the community center, which makes it so nice for us because we don't have to schlep our own tables and chairs. And then if it is raining, we do go inside. We prefer to serve outside because a lot of the people prefer to be outside. And also, if we go inside, sometimes they don't realize we're in there. And so that's always a little bit of a frustration. But yeah, we're very, very thankful for the Isla Vista Community Center cooperation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Judy. Other questions or concerns? I wanted to raise 2 weeks ago, I believe the CityNet team brought up the Fess Parker property, that there were some, I believe CityNet was doing outreach to that area after some community complaints were received. And then following up with Todd, I think, from Good Sam as well. So I don't know, Ellen, since you were out, if you have any updates on that property.
I think both CityNet and Good Sam has made contact with the people. I've never been on outreach when we've made contact. I think it was Saul. that did when I was out sick. It's my understanding it's mostly Spanish speaking. And it wasn't like immediate rapport. But I do know based on Fulcrum that like Good Sam has been out there too. I think it's a pretty big community of people that are working during the day. So it's been just an issue of like being out there and actually making contact.
Gotcha.
It's also really hard to get to, and when it rains, it floods, and you have to kind of walk on this like makeshift bridge to get in there. But there has been contact made. I just don't know the details of the individuals.
All right. We'll revisit that.
It was mentioned that this was being recorded. How would someone that I want to refer obtain this, listen to this recording?
We'll post it on SB Act's YouTube channel each month. So I'll put that link in the chat window, and then I can share that in our next email to the community as well.
And then if the person wanted to come next month, I could just forward the link to them and they can come. They don't have to join anyway.
That's right. They can just use the Zoom link.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Mary.
I just thought of a question, Landon. Actually, two questions. One was those number of people in cars. I think it was 220 living in vehicles on the street. Chuck, does that include those already working with New Beginnings?
Yes.
So that includes people that are already like in a church parking lot or wherever they happen to be.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. And then the other question I have actually is for Gary and Connor. If many of you know of a man living in Isla Vista who has lived there for a very long time, lives in a box, and he has a 290 designation, which means it's hard for him to get housing. And someone said to me that there is a way that after it's been a long time, I think this has been all his life, and he's in his 60s, that if there may be a way for them to get some legal help to get that removed from their record so that they can get housing. Does anyone know how? I was gonna check in with Todd, but I haven't had a chance to. But I'd just like to help this guy get on some list. He's lived outside for so many years and been minding his P's and Q's for a long time. And it's like, I'd really love to be able to see him get housing, and I just didn't know how to help him.
So it's obviously gonna be matter what kind of a 290 status he has. Some are going to be lifelong, and there's nothing they can do about it. He can always petition it through court. There are some people in some occasions where they've done that. I haven't heard of anyone who was successful at doing it. However, it's a pretty serious thing, obviously. But if you check out Senate Bill 384, there should be some information there for you to kind of look into it.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
No
Mary,
problem.
there is also an attorney, Joseph Doherty with the People's Justice Project that can assist that pro bono.
Okay, thank you.
I tried
Thank you very
Joe.
much.
I tried Joe a couple of times and I didn't hear back. So, Mary, I'm giving you our city councilwoman, Jennifer Smith, is the executive director of legal aid. And
Okay.
she told me about, I'm putting the number in the chat. And she told me two attorneys that you might want to talk to. I'm going to put them in the chat.
And Joseph, who Gina mentioned, is at the Faro Center remotely on Mondays. So you can always refer somebody to schedule an appointment with him through our website here as well.
I didn't know
in the
that.
chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we have another client in Goleta who's in a very large RV who might want to speak with him as well. Landon, do you know who I'm talking about?
I don't, but
we can talk offline.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you can actually do what you just suggested.
Yeah.
Is there still an attorney coming on Thursdays, Landon?
There's
Russell
also
Brown?
Yes, so Russell Brown is also here on Thursday. So either way, if you go to that link in the chat window, a client can schedule an appointment here at the Faro Center in downtown Santa Barbara to meet with one of those two attorneys. Ellen, go ahead.
I know. I was just going to say that, yeah, they could sign up to meet with the attorney on Mondays. In my experience with the 290s, the best you can do is a tier lowering. I mean, expungement is like hypothetically possible. We've never been successful with it. You can have a tier lowered, but you have to petition. The issue is that even if that opens you up to being eligible for Section 8, it's still going to show up in your background check for like private landlords. So it's still going to be an issue. And I would say every client I've reached out for the tier lowering has been denied based on the nature of the crime, but they can do that through their like worker. Like the person they check in with as a 290 is the person that has to submit that paperwork for them. So that's where they should start if they're interested.
There's one other way that's even more unlikely, which is to get the government. The governor can do a certificate of rehabilitation. That's urban legend. I don't think the governor gives them very frequently, if ever. The governor's pardon.
Thank you all.
Oh, yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that. That at least gives me some ideas. And it's one of those compassion things where you really do have compassion for this person and would like to see an improvement in his situation.
The Falding does take 290s. They're not subsidized. So I mean it's cheaper than like traditional Santa Barbara rent. I would say the issue is every time I've offered the Falding to clients who are 290s, they say it's too gross and they don't want to live there. But that is a property that can be an option that we've placed people in before.
I have a friend who's living at the Falding, and his unit isn't so bad. So I think it really depends.
They renovated a bunch of units that do have their own bathroom. It has a negative connotation in the community, I would say, is the barrier.
Randy, did you have your hand up earlier?
I just had a question about the where the Fess Parker property was or is that Ellen was referring to.
It's near your complex. So
there's property that comes to the southernmost piece of the lake.
Yeah,
that's but no one in the park has seen anybody over there for a long time, at least homeless.
Someone in your park did reach out to me early in January regarding some people. So it is an ongoing. It's been an ongoing issue. They tend to move around on those properties over there, and law enforcement is aware. So I mean,
they said they were homeless and not people there to go fishing, which we've had as an ongoing issue.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I mean, they seem to be familiar to Officer Warden. Go ahead, Officer Warden.
Yes, it's at least one, if not two, homeless individuals in an encampment. So
good to know. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns from the community? Anything else to announce or share? Go ahead.
Yes. So I'm going to share my screen again. So we tend to have, can people see this?
Yes.
We tend to have pretty much kind of the same folks attending, and it's always a pleasure to see you all. But part of the point of these meetings was to bring people in the community who are concerned about homelessness. And I think sometimes even if they hear about these meetings, they may not know quite what to say or where to go. So my thinking is that these are ideas that I would consider leading conversations on with all of your participation. and I feel very comfortable sort of asking questions of you who are experts, and then taking questions from the public on these issues. These tend to be the things that people are most concerned about in regards to homelessness. And then I was wondering if anybody, taking a look at this, if there's anything that people want to add. My goal was to, like, once a month have a topic that, if there's time permitting, that and we can advertise on that topic to maybe get more people to attend. I'm just curious if anybody sees something here that they either don't like, or if they think something should be added. Joanne.
I just wanted to share that when Chuck and I were talking about this earlier this week, it seemed like a great idea to kind of throw it out there to the public if on these once a month, if we threw out a topic that might attract other people to these meetings, they will find out information about this topic, which is why they come, but then they'll learn something else. And maybe we use this as the hook to get them to come to these meetings and engage them. And if just looking back at this meeting, one person asked one question and we had a very thoughtful and educational discussion, and a lot of people learned a lot of new things. And so I think that conversation was perfect timing, because it just really aided to what Chuck has proposed here. So hats off to Chuck. I think it's a great idea. So I support it 100%, but I would love to hear what everybody else has to say.
Gina?
I think you should have people with lived experience to answer some of those questions.
Agreed. And that's been an issue is, we have put out the call to people with lived experience to attend, and occasionally we have somebody, but yeah, I would love to see more folks. This wouldn't be
I'll be there.
Good. I'm going to put it as parentheses. It's not going to be a topic, but I'm going to make sure that we do some recruitment of folks. Anybody else?
How would I get a copy of this list that you're showing right now?
I can email it to you. Judy, why don't you send me an email?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Mary says it's a great list of questions.
Great.
I took a picture of it.
There you go.
I took a picture of it, Chuck.
I can email it to you.
Email it to me too. Yeah, I like it because I think we tend to not talk about the deeper issues, and I really love this list of issues because we're doing so much band-aiding, and I just would love to see things that weren't just band-aids.
And they're actually, to be kind to the hundreds of people in California who are working on this stuff, there is a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things that are going on that are really positive. If you listen to the news these days, you really only hear negative things. And frankly, California has been doing a lot. That are a lot of really positive activities, and many of the people on this call are people implementing those strategies. So it's a way of kind of framing our work a little more for someone who doesn't know much about it. I'll send this list. I'll send this note to Landon, and he can email it out to everybody. And I figured out why I couldn't do my. I had too many monitors, and I figured out why I can't close the screen. So let me see if I can try it.
Great.
Chuck or Landon?
Yeah.
With regard to the care courts, has there been much activity, instances of good signs, bad signs with what's developed in our county and the state with regard to people that need? That was a big shift.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll start, and I don't know if anybody else wants to chime in. So, care court sounds more serious than, or maybe people think of it in a certain way that it isn't what it is. It isn't that. So, like, the first thing I thought of is that law enforcement and judges would work together to kind of compel people to get out of their situation, and that isn't what it is. It's an opportunity. Anybody can be referred to care court. And I think the thinking was that if and this has been proven true even in the city of Santa Barbara, if you can get everybody in the same room, the providers, law enforcement, judges, there's a lot of problem solving that can happen. And in cases where someone is kind of gummed up in the system and they can't get what they need, care court can resolve those issues. It also is a place, in many cases, families are advocating for their children, adult children, and they feel like there's nowhere for them to go to be heard. And so this is another place where for families to engage. The problem is that we don't have a whole infrastructure yet to really support those courts. And so it's a mandate without a lot of funding to support them at the county level. And the county has decided to go slow. The only people that are eligible are people who have been diagnosed with schizophrenia. And what's complicating about that is that it's something like 60% of people with schizophrenia don't believe they have a problem. So it's really hard to get those folks into treatment, much less in front of a judge. So I think it's a work in progress, Randy. The data statewide has been pretty poor. And it's gone much more slowly than people expected.
Wasn't part of it that they could compel people who had issues to go in front of a judge even if they don't want to?
Yeah, no. But what has been modified is the definition of grave disability. So it used to be very much the case that we would send out behavioral wellness workers to help somebody, and we were told, well, they don't meet our criteria for needing help because they can feed themselves, they can get clothing, then go to Mary's Lunch. These are people that don't need to be compelled into treatment. What changed is, I can't remember the name of the law, but what's changed is now if someone is clearly, severely impaired with alcohol or drugs, if they're using fentanyl, if they're using heroin, and they're really out. In the past, they could be taken to 911, but now behavioral wellness can actually do a 5150 hold, 72 hours they can be held for diagnosis and possibly treatment. So that actually is a big change. That means that, sometimes this is why I'm always encouraging people to call 911 if they see somebody in distress, because it can activate a lot of potential support for folks.
What's the easiest or most, facile way to refer to this? Is it just the issue of care courts or just what's the legislation called?
Well, you're referring to several different things happening at once. So you have care courts, which is controlled by the county, and that's focused on people with schizophrenia. There's this new legislation, Connors might know it, and is it AB 54? Is that, or SB 54? It's something like that. It was a new definition of grave disability.
So does it seem like is the slow growth development, is that sort of a good sign, or does it seem like they're dragging their feet?
Well,
I don't know how
the state. So it's always a game of funding. The state has not provided sufficient resources to implement everything that is being mandated. That's the negative side. The positive side is people passed Proposition 1, which reallocates mental health funding to focus on these people in distress and really focus on homeless people to help them get housing. So that funding is in a big shift, and the mental health departments across the state are going through a major reorganization to focus on the people that we talk about every week. And so the hope there is that as everything gets realigned, we will see more activity for people who are experiencing homelessness. And my experience with it is that behavioral wellness is really doing a lot to kind of transform the way they're operating to support folks. So slow isn't good, but there's a lot in process. People can get involved in it. This is a very public process, so there's the mental health committee, which actually oversees these state funds. And so people can, anybody from the public can get very engaged in the details of this.
Does anyone from mental health ever come to these GAP meetings?
They have. We could probably encourage it more.
Yeah, Gene, I saw he joined the meeting at 9 a.m. today. I think he was confused about the time. Typically, we do have a person from Be Well on these calls.
We're almost out of time, but I want to make sure Gina and Officer Warden get a chance. Go ahead, Gina.
Yeah, I think one of the missing pieces right there in the current court is we need a strong reentry plan, and it needs to start upon entry.
Yeah,
because it takes a long time to house people. So I did just write a whole workflow on that, and we'll try to get it to Board of Supervisors to get that implemented. We already have some of the structures in place, so it's not going to cost anymore. It's just, there needs to be some direction there.
Yeah, maybe less attention focused on jails. Yeah. That's a
We can reduce the jail population.
Political opinion. Yeah. Connor, you put your hand down. Did you want to make a final comment?
Oh yeah, it was Senate Bill 43, but it was
Thank you.
last year, and yeah, it doesn't actually do with care court in particular. It has to do with 5150s and 5250s. But I don't know, kind of going back to Randy's point with the care courts and stuff, is there's a lot of different steps to get there, and it's different entities that handle it, and so there's just opportunity for stuff to kind of fall through the cracks still, because it's a multitude of different both public and private entities that kind of handle it along the way. So
well, we are just about at time. Unless there's any last comments, I think we'll end it here for today. Actually, why don't I throw those dates back up on the screen for everybody, just as a final reminder that the Homelessness Issues Standing Committee is next Thursday, 9 a.m. We will share out the details once we have it. I believe there's usually a Zoom option for that, although it is in person at City Hall. And then the next meeting will be on the 23rd of February.
It is in person, but it's in a very small conference room, so we encourage people to join remotely. And I'll be sending out the agenda for that next week.
Okay. So again, thank you all for being here today. Please reach out to Chuck or myself with any questions or concerns. Go ahead, Mayor Perotti.
Mayor Perotti, yeah.
I'm sorry, my calendar is all over the place. I don't know what's going on. Are you saying that Chuck, the Homelessness Standing Issues Committee at City Hall is on Thursday, February the 5th at 9 a.m.?
No, I think that's wrong.
Okay, I think it's I have 2:30.
Yeah, that's correct.
All right, I'll correct that and send that out to everybody.
I'm like,
Lennon has the old time from we were going to meet this month, or so
yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Let's make sure people are aware of that, because it's the perfect opportunity to come in a very informal setting and
that's right,
and discuss everything. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
All
right. Have a great week, everyone. Thank you so much for being here.
Take care, folks. Thank you.